Hey dreamers, this is Anisha Jennings, a fellow immigrant and an entrepreneur. From being an engineer in India to building my tech business in the US, I've lived the journey you're on. Welcome to Your American Dream podcast, where we turn immigrant challenges into superpowers. Are you feeling out of place, struggling with a job hunt, or simply missing home? I've been there, and I'm here to guide you through it. In each episode, we'll dive into real stories, practical advice, and mindset that will help you write your unique success story. From navigating cultural differences to building a purposeful life, I've got you covered. So if you're ready to turn your immigrant experience into your greatest strength, let's dive in. Your American dream starts now. Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Anisha Jennings, and today I'm so honored to welcome Dr. Meher Chahal, author of Unlicensed Medicine and a teacher specializing in inherited trauma and transformational healing. Originally trained in psychiatry, Dr. Chahal made the courageous decision to leave traditional medicine after recognizing the limitations of symptom-focused care. Inspired by her personal journey growing up with her mom, who had her own mental struggles, she devoted herself to understanding the deeper roots of emotional suffering through family constellations, somatic healing, and shadow work. Today, she helps individuals identify and transform inherited patterns so they can experience greater freedom, healthier relationships, and she lives rooted in authenticity. Welcome, Dr. Chahal. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that very nice description. It's always a bit awkward to hear your own bio on the other side. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. But you have an amazing story, and we would love our listeners and our audience to listen to that inspirational and beautiful story. So I will let you introduce yourself beyond what I just introduced you and tell us about, how your journey started and where you're at now.
It's been a long ride. So even though I was born in America, I grew up primarily in India, in Chandigarh, and I did my schooling. Unfortunately, I was intelligent in studies, so I was left with the option of becoming a doctor as a traditional Indian eldest daughter. So that was that. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds good. Let me go to medical school and also, seeing mental health issues growing up just in my environment. I think I had that definitely developed some of that wounded healer archetype where you want to help other people with what you've struggled with and what you've seen. So I was like, okay, if I go into medicine, the only thing I want to do is psychiatry. I'm not really interested in anything else. So I did medical school in India, and then I, gave my exams and whatever, matched into a residency in Brooklyn. And it was such a different experience from what I thought it would be like. And that's why I always advise people that be very cautious that it's a very big difference in studying something behind a screen and a book and actually practically working in a system and dealing with that. So that was I would say, that was definitely a learning curve there. And yeah, I think obviously, you don't wake up one day and make such a radical decision about after having spent almost 11 years in Western medicine and giving so many exams, making so many sacrifices and all of that. So I think I had intuitively started feeling towards my second year, kind of in the middle, that, this is really not in alignment and I'm really not feeling fulfilled. And it was more than just residency is tough and, you're just facing burnout. I started to become more spiritual. And I think that also synchronistically aligned with my career journey. So, I think it started to get to a point where I got physically ill and I started developing severe gastric issues. I had to get an endoscopy and stuff like that. So,
Wow.
Dr. Gabor Mate's book, amazing book, When the Body Says No. So I do believe that, when you don't say no, eventually one day your body will say no for you. And for me,
For sure.
something affecting my physical health was a very big boundary and red flag, because I felt like, if today it's this, 10 years from now, it'll be something even more serious. So that
Right.
was a really big push that health is the real wealth and nothing in the world is worth sacrificing your health for. So that was, I would
Mhm.
say, the final straw where I like physically was so drained to even get up and go to work. And
Right.
yeah, I just remember, when it was my day that I like quit. I just remember that today I am not going to listen to my mind. I'm only going to listen to my heart. That was the first decision I truly made, like career wise, from my heart. And I was like, I am like cutting the cord for now from
Yeah.
this profession. And then that started me on my own healing journey, physically and quite mentally, spiritually. Are they really separate? It's all a holistic thing. And then I would keep hearing from people about family constellations when I would share my family history. And then I actually discovered this woman who was just 10 minutes away from me in Brooklyn. And I had my first family constellations therapy session. And I was just like really blown away. I was so blown away. And it's so fascinating when you actually don't intellectualize and read everything about a therapy, and you just
Mhm.
experience it, how much more powerful and potent it is. So I
Right.
was first kind of in the client seat, the one receiving the therapy. And then I was like, I have to get trained in this. Like, of course, I have
Right.
to like become a facilitator, family constellations facilitator. So first 6 months I was receiving it. Then I went on and trained and I got certified, and I'm also a certified Jungian life coach. Yeah, I think there are a couple more there, certifications there, but this is not about that. I think we are moving away from finding our worth on a piece of paper. So
Right. Right.
that's been also something to learn and embody. And now I recently moved back from America to India because I think I just like, for various practical also reasons, and there's more social support and stuff like this. So I plan to keep best of both the worlds. I don't know what that balance will look
Yeah.
like, but luckily in today's world and age, we are all connected to social media. So it doesn't even matter where you really are situated. And as of now, I
Right.
am currently if you ask me what am I doing, I think I'm like doing 5 creative projects on a daily basis. So I don't know like which side you want me to talk about, but I would say I'm a creative entrepreneur. That's how I would describe myself. Doctor turned
Amazing.
creative
Amazing.
entrepreneur. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's a great title.
Thank you.
So, when we spoke, when we got introduced to each other, you were telling me a little bit about, how as the oldest daughter, like, your dynamic with your dad. Tell our listeners a little bit about that and how it shaped you.
How it shaped me. I think that's pretty broad, but I would say it definitely, just like everything has its like light and shadow side. So
Mm-hmm.
it gave me a lot of resilience. And also constellation teaches you this. It's like, you get best of both the worlds from your lineage and your ancestry. So I got a lot of, resilience, hard work. I guess even could put intelligence in there, ambition, definitely those good things. But I think I had to really learn that I am ultimately like a woman, and I have a menstrual cycle, and I have different phases, and my productivity is not the same as, like how men can just go because they have steady, testosterone peak levels and they can keep producing and stuff like that. So that was also because of my own personal burnout. So I think that was something I had to unlearn. I also had to learn that we've actually had very different upbringing and different circumstances and generational experiences. So yeah, I think being the eldest, I think this is so common where I was definitely pushed into doing medicine for my benefit. However, now my brothers are much younger than me, and they're like, you can choose whatever you want. So I think that's
Yeah.
how it shaped me. But I think the older I grow, I was recently asking my grandmother, I was like, do you think I'm more like my mom or I'm more like my dad? And she's like, no, I think you're more like your dad. So I think I noticed that a lot of our habits, a lot of like are very similar, and like even things like everything has to be organized. And yeah, so I think now I'm just more conscious and aware of like, okay, what is the best thing to move forward with, and what is not really like serving me anymore from what I
Right.
learned.
Right. So, yeah, that makes so much sense. And it has been happening, right? Like generationally, and then we have all these generational traumas. So, can you explain a little more on like how do family patterns unknowingly influence our relationships, our career, our health, and our identity?
It's actually mind blowing the more that you get into it and the deeper you dive down that hole, because it's truly like the root cause issue of everything. Like, I would say that more than like, I mean, don't quote me on this. This is my own personal this thing, but more than 95% of your trauma is inherited. Like, even if there was something in your childhood, which was like, something like, child separated from mom or some kind of reason, whatever the reason may be, whether it was like mental illness, whether it was physical separation, whether mom passed away, whether mom had alcoholism. When you start like mapping this back into your lineage, you see that it really didn't start with you, and probably not even with your mom or your grandmom, that it runs so deep. And
Wow.
ultimately, even basically on a soul level, the reason why family constellations therapy works is because it is like a soul level therapy. It is working with your unconscious mind, which, from when I was training in the Jungian coaching, a lot of people say your body is your unconscious mind. Also kind of makes sense because your mom makes your body, right? Like, you were ultimately a cell epigenetically in your mom's body. So whatever like firsthand trauma she experienced, you were kind of in it. Like, it's not even passed down. So there's that theory of it. So what's actually
Wow.
happening is that, there may be some ancestor which you've never even met, and you or somebody else has been enmeshed with or entangled with, or paying a karmic debt for like, I don't
Mm,
know what the proper word is, and I think the more number of people that you meet, they'll have different this thing, but it's this basically, something went wrong, some major trauma happened up the line, and then it's being replayed. And the reason it's being replayed is unconsciously, because it's called unconscious loyalty. Because at least
mm,
if my ancestors suffered and I suffer too, at least this way I belong. So a lot of
okay.
self-sabotaging habits come from actually on a soul level, like, who am I to live a full life when you couldn't? So,
Okay.
and all a child's love is so pure and unconditional that, they would rather follow their parent to the grave, but because at least that way they'll belong and have love, right?
Right.
But but
Right.
but
Right.
to like betray or make a radically different choice, or to individuate, or choose something completely different from what your lineage has been doing, that is ultimately takes a lot of courage, and you're breaking a really big pattern. And
Right.
you know, that's where I guess some of the healing work comes in. But it's ultimately these unconscious loyalties which are playing out, and you're repeating just out of like actually pure love,
Right.
a
Right.
pure
Right.
unconscious love. And I think the more you do it, the more it like makes sense to you, and not here. It makes sense to you intuitively. That's why like constellation is so experiential. And every time somebody tells me to define constellation, my definition is a bit altered, because it's so difficult to like justify or really give the potency of something which is so subjective and so experiential. And yeah, like, you really don't know what will come in. For example, and I also think that it keeps the facilitator's ego in check, because, many times me and my mentor have gone in and been like, like this so and so, pattern block, or something is coming up, and, we think it's like related to mom stuff, and there
Mm,
must be something in the mom's this thing, or must be like, I heard that story about that ancestor once, it must be something related to that. And then you go in the field during the session, and it's completely different. Like, you would have not even imagined that, and maybe it'll be something like the field is trying to show you, no, it's actually something entangled or unfinished on your dad's side. So I also like that unbiasedness of it. I think you asked me about the ancestral trauma, and I started going into the more like how it works. But yeah, you ultimately are going in and returning what was not yours to ever carry, and kind of return that like
wow.
burden,
I like that.
entanglement to them. And it's like, I think where people get confused is, it's not that you're saying, it sucks, why I have so much family trauma and my ancestry like sucks, and like, what is wrong with my ancestors, like what, like, or it comes from this disrespectful place. Like, absolutely not. It's just that with evolution, you need to keep up and do different things, right? Like, for example, it's like, you're going to school. Maybe back in the day, I don't know, you had to take a horse cart, like, to go. And now, if you want to be more efficient, right, like you might just Uber, Ola, or like drive yourself to it. So it's about
Yeah.
like also when evolution happens, you also make different choices with it. And
Mm-hmm.
the nice thing about it is that the pattern which is quote unquote toxic or no longer serving life or serving you, it can be something like, let's say, I don't know, alcoholism. Okay. And that is basically you returning it back up the line and saying, I return this with to you, like with respect and this thing, and I honor you and I will live a full life in your honor. So it doesn't come from a place of like, oh, screw you, like take this back. It actually comes from a place like, this belongs to you. This is no longer mine to carry. I'm giving this part back
Right.
to you. And out of respect, I will take what is good from you. Just like one of my best friends, she's an amazing singer. And her mom was actually at one time going to be signed by Columbia Records, but her mom had own like trauma and, challenges and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she, of course, has had like her own set of like experiences and trauma and stressors. However, you also get ancestral gifts in families, right? That's why you even have creative gifts, or like singers are born into singer lineages, or creative people are this thing. So that ways it's like you don't say like, in fact, totally cutting off from your ancestry is cutting off from life force energy, because you
Mm.
also get like life force energy from your ancestors. So it's like about discernment, like what do you want to keep? Like, I want to keep
Okay.
your voice, like I want this, like please give me life force energy for this creative gift, like thank you, like this comes from you. But actually maybe the part of like that disease or illness, no, this is not serving me, like please take this back.
Mm.
So it's balance.
I love this perspective. I don't think I've heard about this before. So when you say, you can take what serves you and leave what doesn't, and when we say like we inherit, family history of illness like diabetes or sugar, whatever, how can you break that? Or is there a way to do that? Or is that like, not a
The
solution?
interesting thing is, of course, like I have to like say this as a disclaimer, because I don't think there's any medical evidence that science has about all of this. But I and my mentor have personally seen actually constellations being extremely helpful in something which is like medical, because sometimes when it's a psychological or an addiction based or that kind of issue, it's difficult to objectively measure it, right? To see that like difference, or it's like, you can have relapses or stuff like that, or it's like, how do you like tell, okay, I'm like subjectively happier? You can't really like calculate that. But
Right.
like my mentor had a patient who had like multiple sclerosis, and ever since like he came to her, he never developed a new lesion after that. It didn't reverse what already happened, but he never quite
Right.
developed another like lesion after that. I myself can like vouch for this, because I don't even need any textbook to say this. But when I was in this workshop, I was having lower back pain on my right side. Right side is like, dad side, masculine side, left side is feminine, mom side, and something whatever like came up in
Wow.
the, and my back pain was healed in one freaking session. It never came back. And mind you, like I had been going to my, there used to be a chiropractor in my neighborhood. I was going there for like 10, 12 sessions, and it would give me like this sporadic relief, but it would come back. But then like, that's
Mhm.
what I'm saying. It's like a root cause issue. It's never come back. It's never. So actually constellation is
Wow.
really good. It's really good for this thing. However, I think it's a bit tricky, and also there might be some, I don't know, ethical issues, because there's no like governance or scientific like this thing around it. So it totally like depends on, I guess, the relationship between the client and the facilitator and how much you trust them, right? Like I would completely trust my mentor
Right.
if I had to go to her and say like, I actually want to do a constellation around for eyesight. That's something like I've discussed with her. Now, that's because I trust her. I've worked with her. But
Right.
I don't know if I would advertise that and like tell people like, hey, come here, I like heal your eyesight. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's very, very,
Right.
it's a
Makes
very
sense.
big thing that you can't like put an Instagram ad out there like, hey, come to me, I'll heal your cancer and your neurological disease. But yeah,
Right.
I would just
Right.
say that like, take it with a pinch of salt. I think that it works. Nothing to lose. Nothing's
Right.
going to get worse. So there is medical diseases, just like psychiatric diseases and addictions are also loyalties. It's very interesting. Very, very
Wow.
interesting. For in my book team, actually, one of like the person who was like kind of the intermediary between all the different, like the editor and this thing, she actually told me that when she was like around like my age, she developed like lymphoma, right? And she was just telling me that she was going through like a really rough time in this thing. And I actually told her, it was a very brief conversation. And I was like, oh, lymph is actually always related to dad stuff, to patrilineal stuff. And she's like, oh my God, that's so interesting because that was what was happening at that time. Like I was like,
Wow.
like whatever, I was having a divorce. My dad and I were like at the worst of this thing. And she's like, that makes so much sense. So I did have in my training, in my family constellations training, I did have one entire training session dedicated with my mentor, maybe actually 2 full sessions where it was just medical diseases that we were talking about. And I would be like, okay, what does like diabetes represent? What does autoimmunity? Autoimmunity is always mom stuff because mom made your body and you're trying to like hurt your
Wow.
body like and produce against that. Alcoholism usually always dad stuff. Recreational stuff is child always. Recreational drugs is always child missing dad on soul level. You can take this with any like try to like take any celebrity in mind and who've had like these kind of like issues with recreational drugs, and you can see that there is some dad stuff going on. So
Wow.
it's what's happening is that you haven't like taken your dad as is or as full or accepted what happened, and the child is missing father on a soul level. So that's why like even like recreational drugs comes from that. So yeah, it's a very, very fascinating, the medical side of it. Very, very fascinating.
Wow. Wow. That is so cool. So tell us a little bit more about this. Like, do you practice this? Do you give trainings? How does it work?
Started giving trainings yet because I still feel like I need to polish my skills. I guess you polish your skills till the day you do this, but I'm not giving training yet, although I think I can teach it. That's not something that I'm offering currently, but I think, it could be a very powerful tool because I do a lot of self constellations myself actually to help myself. So it's actually a very self-empowering tool because now I don't need to go back to my mentor for every like minor block or challenge which comes my way. I've learned constellations to deal with it like myself. But if it's something really major or I need like support, very like energetic support with, then I'll like usually go to her and be like, can we like do this together? So if nothing else, I think like learning constellations just to do it on yourself is like such a good tool in your like toolbox. Just like, I don't know, maybe like doing self Reiki, although like different categories and different context and different potencies. But you know what I mean? Like when you learn Reiki as a Reiki master, you give it to people, but you can also do it to yourself, that kind of thing.
Right.
Currently, I am doing constellations like once a month, like very, very like this thing. It is very energetically draining for the facilitator. So I try to, I think I was in a kind of a lower space where my energy was low and you can't pour from an empty cup. So that part is also important. I think a lot of healers, empaths, and people in the mental health field, they forget to practice what they preach. So now I'm like slowly easing back into that. In fact, today only afternoon, somebody was asking me about this and like how do I like tell them like what constellation is and like how are you doing this and like what it is and is it like one-to-one, is it like a group? So today afternoon only like this was happening, but I'm slowly easing back into it.
Beautiful. So tell us about like, do you see any common signs that somebody's carrying some inherited emotional patterns? What would be like the signs?
So usually there is something, I think the best way to describe it, usually, like, for example, let's say I tried everything, right? Like I tried every therapy in the world, like Reiki, medications, like psychiatric medication for mood and I don't know, yoga, breathwork, meditation, all of these like healing modalities out there. And I would say when nothing else is working and you just can't seem to get rid of it, with discipline, willpower, or any other kind of support, that is usually pointing at something that there's something deeper over here which may actually not be yours and you are unconsciously playing out. So I would say, what if there is something or a pattern or a block which repeatedly pops up in your life that you just cannot seem to shake off? Like, even if like life suddenly got a little better or tolerable, but then 3-4 years later it comes packaged as another person, like special, like, certain people tend to attract the same kind of relationship or partners. Like if you want to go the romantic like relationship side, and you're like 10 years later, like, wow, this is the 4th time. Like I've been in therapy and this is the 4th time I've attracted somebody so similar. Like what is going on here? I would say that is usually a really good
Right.
sign that you're carrying something which didn't start with you and there's something like really deeper going on here. You've tried things and you've got superficial relief for, and I'd usually say, it's like till the wound or the bite doesn't actually get really painful, you don't even pay it that much heed and attention. Like I always say that, you don't usually go to therapy when everything is rosy in your life and it's like all good. It's usually when some major trauma has happened and you're like down on your knees. And that, same applied to me.
Yes.
In fact, like in residency for the first 2 years, you had like, you were reimbursed and eventually you had the option to get like free therapy and not even pay out of your pocket. But I still didn't avail that because I was like, no, I don't need it. But then when I actually needed it, like then I didn't have that benefit. So,
Right.
I would say that when there is just something, it's like, it's just not going away and it's just not getting better. And it's like, the wound or the pattern or the block is almost like it gets to a point that the volume is getting so loud that you just can't ignore it. Like, this is the fourth job that I've been fired from.
Mm.
This is the third time I have gotten in trouble with the cops. This is the third car accident I've had where like it makes no logical sense I've had it. So something like that, which is like really
Wow.
like, I would say it would pass your logic, where your like mind is trying to make like stories around it and like this is why and maybe that's why and this happened if I only did that better. Like when your mind can't quite get to it, there's something deeper. Like it's really
Wow.
paining you. And it's almost like when I started that, then when you open Pandora's box of your family trauma and history and like healing, that's why they say it gets worse before it gets better. It's not roses and rainbows when you open it and you're like, oh my God, like, oh my God. So usually like my mentor would see it as a positive thing because she's like, no, this is coming up to be healed, to be
Right.
unburdened. You like you're suffering right now because it's demanding your attention. So we can actually go in the field and untangle you from it. So don't look at yourself as like a victim. Like, why is this happening again to me? Look at it as like, oh my God, I'm having an opportunity to like finally untangle myself. So I would say like
Mm.
ask yourself like what screams for your attention, and but then you just superficially maybe like make it go away and then it comes back.
Wow.
So that would be
Wow.
some of my maybe like practical real life scenarios which happen.
Wow. That's amazing. It's just like, it's so fascinating to learn all of this. And, even learning about energies is definitely very fascinating. So tell us a little more about your book. What is the takeaway for readers?
The book is my own healing journey from complex PTSD and like ancestral trauma, and also just tying in personal trauma to like, oh my God, this is so much deeper and so much like encircling and coming back around. So it's that. But I think more than like my own personal this thing, the intention of the book is very much so focused on different parts and different modalities, which I found helpful, constellations obviously being a part of it. Then somatic work, which is body based, definitely very important because you need time to integrate it, right? When you've like gone there, opened a traumatic loop again, healed that, unburdened that, to kind of siphon that energy or to kind of put that in, I don't know how to like say this, but like get used to a new vibration or a frequency or integrate that. I think somatic work is really, really powerful for your body because it's like a re-traumatization kind of like to go back into the field and open that
Right.
and then like relive it, just like when you go to therapy, you think it's not that bad, but then when you actually start talking and like your therapist is like, what, like you're like, oh my God, yeah, actually I am really angry about this. So I
Right.
think somatic work really helps with that. So it's like different all of these different healing modalities. And, I don't believe in being on some kind of like guru mentor pedestal, this thing where it's like, I'll give you life advice about how you should heal your life and like what you should do. I don't believe in that. I am also kind of like a rebel myself, and I would like probably do the opposite if somebody told me what to do. My book team would ask me like, what's, like in like marketing, like, what do you want to like advise them? And I'm like, I don't want to advise them. Why should I do to somebody else what I don't want to have done to me? So I personally feel like when, let's say, three people read the same book, right? They're reading my book. I feel like there are different parts and chapters which are going to resonate. with those three people. It's like one paragraph may really click with one reader, and then another part may like really click and be like, and you know, when it clicks, it clicks. I've experienced this. So everybody's experience is so subjective.
Yeah.
So I truly feel like what somebody has to take from the book is going to be their own wise self or intuitive self telling them like, this is what I needed to hear. So I can't really like all in one do it. What I would say my intention with the book would be to raise awareness that something like systemic and family counseling exists. Like I would tell my mentor, I'm like, how the hell does the world not like know about this modality? Like this is like healing on steroids. And she's like, Meher, actually for every like good family therapist, you have like two bad ones. So also discern, just like a lot of people go to therapy and they're like, I had one therapist and like, he was, I don't know, maybe grumpy or like rude or judgmental. And they're like, I'm never going back to therapy again. So it can be very that based. I got very lucky with my mentor. So definitely use discernment with who you feel safe with. Safety is always number one. If you want to heal, you can't heal in the same place which traumatized you, and you can't heal if you feel unsafe. Like I can't sit and have this podcast and be myself if I'm like hyper vigilant around like, is somebody watching? Is somebody coming? Is somebody going to scream at me? Is somebody going to be like, you're talking too loudly? So safety, number one. And I think your nervous system itself lets you know who you're safe around, who you feel safe with. I could like open up or this thing. Sometimes you learn by like testing and trying that thing. And so definitely raising awareness about this. Secondly, there's also a portion of psychological astrology in it, like I think the 9th chapter. I think I threw in astrology over there because I think a lot of people who are astrology geeks, like very much like myself, will agree that again, just like therapy, you don't really go try to read your chart when everything is rosy. You're like, you usually approach your astrology, you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is this going on in my life? And like, what period is running? What planetary period or transit is running? So I think that could be really like a lot of people go through divorces, breakups, career shifts during their Saturn return. And Saturn returns usually happens from the age of like, let's say 27, 28 to 32, like from the time like that window period. And you like usually see people make a lot of significant shift. It's either be like a marriage or either be leaving a marriage or it'll be like changing a job, but there'll be like something. Like I have rarely ever found like somebody, to the extent that I remember even my like eyelash lady was like telling me that, oh my God, yeah, I actually, dude, like when my Saturn return started, like I like, broke up after an 8-year-long relationship. So something radical may happen. And obviously the severity and the intensity really matters depending on personal inherited trauma. So I think just having that awareness about this will get better, this can get better. So I think astrology can be really validating and really a light in the dark night of the soul. So that part also I would just like to, kind of nurture and educate the audience with that. And yeah, I think lastly, if you ask me one broad line about this thing is we pay so much attention in today's time in Western and Eastern about trauma or healing. And it's so much to do with like, that happened in your childhood, so that's why you behave like this. That happened like yada, yada, yada. So now today I'm like this because as a child, actually, I was scolded about this. I would really like to stretch that lens and see that it's so much broader than that and how significant actually all of it is. It really comes around and goes back to ancestral trauma. Like you really, if you just pull on that line a little more, you'll see that it's like even before you. So that is what I would really like to collectively raise awareness about, like actually how pertinent ancestral trauma is. Also, I don't blame people because, once your ancestor dies, let's say, I never met my great grandmother. Then you feel like story's over. Whatever you cremated them, you burned them, you like never heard about them. You don't even know what they look like, right? So chapter over, story over, or you'll hear some stories passed down or this thing. So you don't like intellectually think that how can I be like related to that because story's over. That was then and that was that time. But actually, no, the story doesn't finish with the ancestors passing. So I think that's what I would like really emphasize the importance and the missing of this void of really tying in ancestral work into everything.
Right. Right. Beautiful. So if somebody wants to work with you or reach out to you, what is the best way?
The best way, please email me directly and I will like make it work. I have to like redo my website and all of that. I think that it's just the best, most personal way to get is my email, info@drmeherchahal.com. Again, it's info@drmeherchahal.com. Just shoot me an email and we can make it work and flow. I don't have like a rigid acuity or calendly this thing that I can unfortunately share right now, but I feel like if someone on the other side really needs it, like the universe will make us connect. So shoot me an email. That's what I would say.
For sure. So I would like to thank you so much for making the time and share your experience and everything that you've learned so far. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
My pleasure. As we close this deeply meaningful conversation with Dr. Meher Chahal, one truth becomes clear. Healing doesn't change just one life, it changes generations. When we have the courage to face our stories, we create space for freedom, purpose, and possibility for ourselves and those who come after us. And if you're building a business around your message, your mission, or your expertise, I'm here to support you. I create strategic, high converting websites that help communicate your impact, provide podcast management services that amplify your voice, and offer team and operational support so you can continue serving others while your business grows sustainably. Because powerful messages deserve powerful platforms. This is Anisha Jennings reminding you that your American dream isn't only about what you build, it's also about what you heal. Until next time. Thank you for tuning into Your American Dream. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to take on the world. Remember when I first landed in the US, lost and overwhelmed? Well, look at us now. We're building our dreams together. Your story matters, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. If you enjoyed our chat today, please spread the love. Rate, review, and share. Let's grow this amazing community of dreamers together. Want more? Catch my daily doses of inspiration on my Instagram @JenningsTechCorner. Also check out the show notes for more ways to connect. Remember, your accent is the voice of your ambition. Your background is your superpower. Let's dream big and achieve bigger. Until then, this is Anisha cheering you every step of the way.